You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Giddy conservatives claim debunked his face on CNN. They conflate everything based on an article by Travis Geddes. The court didn't clean up this policy, it certified it. The real decision maker. The immediate facts are simple. The Supreme Court, in a 6-3 ruling, upheld a federal policy that turns back asylum seekers before they reach the border. The policy was adopted in response to a surge of Haitian immigrants, and the opinions in the case wrestled with racial animus in strikingly different ways. That is the legal surface. The political center of gravity is elsewhere. The Trump administration made the policy choice. Conservative allies then treated the ruling as a victory lap. The court did not invent the hostility toward Haitians or the larger immigration program behind it. It gave institutional cover to a political project already in motion. Who benefits from confusion? The most revealing part of the source is not the ruling, it is the glee. Rob Blue did not talk like someone defending law. He talked like someone celebrating momentum toward the largest mass deportation promise and treating the court as a clearinghouse for executive ambition. That matters because it exposes what the argument really is, not border administration, but scale. Not legality, but capacity for removal. This is how the rhetoric works. It collapses asylum seekers, TPS holders, legal immigrants, and refugees into one disposable category, then calls the resulting blur policy. That is not misunderstanding. It is a method. Haitians as target material. The source makes clear that racial animus is not an afterthought here. Elena Kagan's language, as quoted in the segment, points to statements that fairly shout racial undertones and overtones. Audie Cornish also notes the administration's heinous statements about Haitians and J.D. Vance's campaign claims about them. That is the point the celebrants want to dodge. Haitians were not being discussed as people with individual claims, vetted status, jobs, or public contributions. Garcia Navarro's rebuttal cuts through the smear. These were people who had done what the system required of them, including being vetted. The attack was not on disorder, it was on presence. When a government policy is built around a stigmatized group and the public defenders brag about it anyway, the racism is not incidental. It is the organizing principle. The court's cover story. The court's majority can frame this as statutory interpretation. The dissent can identify racial undertones. Both can be true, but neither changes the political function of the ruling. It legitimizes an exclusionary state action that was sold through dehumanization. That is why rogue judges is such a useful phrase for Blue Eye. It lets him recast judicial scrutiny as a legitimate interference, even while cheering a decision that hands the state more power to expel vulnerable people. The complaint is not about judicial overreach. It is about any institution that slows the machinery. The legal debate becomes theater once the executive has already decided who the target is. The pattern is the point. This story fits a familiar authoritarian pattern. Stigmatize a population, flatten legal categories, declare the target threatening, then celebrate institutional validation as if cruelty were competence. The names here matter. Trump set the promise. The administration advanced the policy. Conservative media amplified the framing. The court supplied the stamp. And Haitians, along with other migrants, became raw material for a political performance aimed at proving toughness through expulsion. That is the larger lesson. The scandal is not confusion at the border. It is the willingness of powerful institutions to launder racial hostility into administrative routine, then call the result governance. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Raw Story for today's article. With the automated voice of Kuzal, thanks for listening.